Along the Louisiana and Mississippi Gulf Coast, there's a celebration that's known around the world, Mardi Gras. One of the traditions is to have a king cake. Stick around and I'll show you how it's made. The American version of a king cake was thought to have been introduced to the area by the French or the Basque settlers way back in the early 1700s. Traditionally, it's a large ring of dough. It's usually filled with some sort of filling and is covered with a very creamy colored icing. The colors are purple for justice, green for faith, and gold for power. There's usually a small charm that resembles a baby inside. And if you happen to get the baby, it usually means that you have to bring the next cake. Before we get started, I'd really appreciate it if you would click on the like button and also subscribe to my channel. This way you could get a notification when I post a new video. This recipe is for 2 cakes. You can cut the portions in half if you like, but sharing a cake is usually part of the fun. Measure out all of your ingredients beforehand. There's a few steps that require that you have a few things at the ready. You don't want to be stirring something and then realize that you have to stop and then get something out of the fridge. Getting started with the dough, in a medium-sized microwave-safe bowl, you want to add in the sour cream, the butter, the salt, and 1/3 of a cup of sugar. You'll microwave these ingredients for about 30 seconds at a time. You'll do this about 3 times. You'll want the butter to melt, and then once it's done, you'll just set it aside while you work on the next step. In another microwave-safe bowl or in a microwave-safe measuring cup, heat the water for about 1 minute to 1.5 minutes. You'll want to get the water somewhere around 100 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. If it's too hot, it'll kill the yeast. Add in the yeast and 1 tablespoon of sugar and then give it a stir and set it aside. Let it sit for about 5 minutes. You'll see this foam up and it'll start to smell like beer. I'll be using a stand mixer for this next step, but you can use a sturdy spoon if you don't have one. I would not recommend using a hand mixer because this dough is going to get very, very thick. Combine the sour cream mixture, the yeast mixture, and 2 eggs to 2 cups of flour. With a paddle attachment, start on low speed and work your way up to medium speed. Mix this for 1 minute. Next, you'll add in 4 cups of flour, a little at a time. Stopping midway to give it a scrape so that you can get all of the mixture together. Keep mixing until you get a shaggy dough. This takes about 5 minutes. Turn out onto a work surface that's been dusted with about 1/4 cup of flour. I'm using a bench scraper. If you don't have one, just be ready. The dough is very sticky. Knead and continue adding in the last 1/2 cup of flour. As you knead, pull in a bit more of the flour. Keep going until you've added all of the flour and the dough becomes smooth. Work the dough into a ball. Place into a greased bowl and then cover with plastic wrap. I use my oven for proofing. Turn on the light and it'll create a nice warm place for the dough to rise. Allow it to rise for about an hour until it's at least doubled in size. Every king cake has to have a filling. You can use a fruit filling like a jam, or you can use a coffee cake type crumble. For this one, I'll be making a praline pecan cream cheese filling. I'll be using a stand mixer for this, but you can use a hand mixer and it will work fine. To the cream cheese, add in the sugars, cinnamon, and vanilla. Add in the egg and mix to combine. Remove the dough from the bowl onto a lightly floured surface and cut it in half. Cover the other portion while you roll out the dough. Roll out the dough to about 22 inches by 12 inches rectangle. Spread half of the praline cream cheese mixture, leaving about a 1-inch border all the way around. Sprinkle half of the chopped pecans over the cream cheese. Starting on the long side, start rolling. You'll want to keep this roll fairly tight. Lift the log onto a parchment-lined baking sheet, seam side down. Form it into a ring and then bring the ends together and then pinch them and tuck them in to join them. Cover with plastic wrap and repeat the process to the other portion of the dough. Place them back into the oven for another hour for a second proofing. Remove from the oven and then preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Uncover the rings and brush with milk or cream. Bake until golden brown, about 25 to 28 minutes, rotating halfway through the baking. Remove from the oven and allow to cool completely for about 2 hours. For the icing, stir together the icing sugar, melted butter, and vanilla. Add in 3 tablespoons of milk and have some extra milk ready. Keep stirring and check for a thick, spreadable consistency. If you want it more spreadable, add in a teaspoon of milk at a time until you get it to where you like it. Sprinkle with the colored sugar any way you like. The cakes can sit out on the counter in a sealed container for a couple of days before icing. Once you apply the icing, you'll want to keep them refrigerated and also keep them in a sealed container or covered. If you want to freeze the cakes, you can do so without the icing. Apply the icing after you remove the cake from the freezer, allowing it to thaw in the fridge overnight. You can have these for breakfast, as they're basically a Danish, or you can have them anytime with coffee or tea. Since you have 2 of them, you might as well share them. Your friends will love you for this. If you make this, I'd really like to hear from you. Leave me a comment below and let me know how it turned out. Thanks again for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Now, I'm going to enjoy one of these. Oh my God, so good. It's not super sweet, but it's one of the best king cakes I've ever had. Hope you make this. Thanks for watching, guys.